hosting a forum of mayoral candidates for San Francisco mayor. Stuart Schuffman is with us. Amy Weiss is with us. And Francisco Herrera is with us. And we've been talking about the issue of homelessness. And I brought up Housing First. Because Housing First, but you know, before we even get into that, you just gave me some stats, Stuart. And so I did a quick thing. Earlier, it was Francisco, I think, who mentioned $167 million to deal with homelessness. You said there were 7,000 some odd people counted right now who are homeless, which equates to about $22,000 per person. Mm-hmm. So how can we not fix this when there's that kind of money that's being allocated? It seems as if the funds are not being appropriated where they should be, that maybe that's one of the problems. Does Housing First work in San Francisco, and doesn't that amount of money, in your mind, Stuart, doesn't it seem like we should be able to resolve this problem?
Well, we're just starting to take more radical approaches to it because the things that have been done before aren't working. I mean, you know, places like Glide and St. Anthony's, Larkin Street Youth Center, they're fantastic organizations. But with a lot of those, you have to be sober to get in there. Imagine how hard it is to get clean when you sleep in a doorway every night. Like, I think, imagine getting clean is the last thing you're thinking about. So I'm interested in doing things like having safe injection sites. There's a huge spike in heroin right now because the cartels are pushing that because they're not making money off weed anymore. So there's a huge spike in heroin. We need to get people, help them get clean, but it's hard to get clean when you're on the streets. There's a lot of alcoholism, you know, things like that. We need to have places where people can still use and be safe while not being on the street where they're victims.
And then there's general mental health problems that are essential to this issue. We were talking about, just think about when you're late on the rent or so, I mean, the level of anxiety and really when you're living in a car, just working with all these families that I've been doing in the last 27, 28 years, when you're forced to live in the car because your landlord decided he wants to have his house turned into an Airbnb hotel, and he could, you know, he could kick you out. He can make 3 times as much money, and now he's dealing with Airbnb, and you're on a car. The level of mental health disability that occurs within the month is incredible.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there a group of homeless people? I'm sure there are some, but I mean, is it a substantial group of people who have been displaced the way you're talking about? And if that's the reason they're homeless, can't they find housing outside of San Francisco where it's less expensive?
1,357 people who are homeless out of 7,539 have lost their home from a rent hike, foreclosure, or eviction. And this is 2015 numbers that
and
just
they're living
out.
on the streets.
Living on the streets.
So you can't find a house in, I don't know, Palo Alto.
And you want people
Oakland
to be able to stay here because they contribute to the fabric of our culture and our heritage. And so the idea that if somebody gets pushed out because of a rent issue or an Ellis Act eviction or a nuisance eviction, then they're contributing to our city by being a teacher or by working at
are there homeless teachers?
There are people in the Sunset, Pat, who have full-time jobs at places like Whole Foods and other places and are living in their car in the city. This housing debacle.
So what you're talking about is crucial, about substance abuse issues, about mental health issues. These things are crucial, but that's what Housing First, I mean, it's in the title. First you house them.
We don't have
then you
enough
take care of the other issues.
Though, is the issue. It works in cities where they have surplus housing. We actually don't have surplus housing right now in that way.
We're looking at like 7,500 units.
And so so what we could do right now, there's someone named Nicholas de Monchot. He's a Cal Berkeley professor. He did a project 2 years ago, or I guess 3 or 4 years ago now, that is called Local Code, and you can look it up online. He indexed all the underutilized spaces that the city owns that are alleyways, that are under freeway overpasses. So this is part of my St. Francis Super Bowl homelessness challenge. I call them transitional eco-villages. And what we do is, but they become a benefit to the community because we have 10, like let's say 10 people, 15 people max that are living in this little eco-village. We can set up structures that cost about, I have something priced for $600 each that you can construct in 2 hours. It's solar powered on top. It has a window and a door. we can create an on-site job opportunity for people who are there. Maybe you have a food truck there, and they're operating a food truck, and they contribute by doing, instead of having a generator, people work a bicycle that's connected, and they're actually powering the city that they're living in through human power, and that gets them, you know, to be able to live in this space and meals when they need them. And there's also an eco shower. We could do beautiful,
but one other
amazing
thing,
things.
it's great to say if they live there, they need to contribute. But part of the Housing First program is you don't ask questions, you house people, and then you get them help, or you try to make them productive, or you have them do various jobs. But the most important thing is give them the security of having a roof over their heads. They have to have the structure. And it sounds like that's what you're talking about, but you found it through unconventional means. But it's still Housing First.
It is Housing First, and I have a background in mental health, and I actually worked in a community called
I'm going to
Gold
have
Farm.
to cut you off because we are almost out of time, and I did want to give everybody your names again. And thank you for coming in and spending the amount of time that you did. Francisco Herrera, I thank you so much. Is there any place people can go, a website or anything where they can learn more about you?
http Francisco Herrera for mayor, or easier yet, peoplescampaign.net on the website, peoplescampaign.net.
And Stuart Schuffman.
Brokeassmayor.com.
I love that.
Thank you.
And Amy Weiss.
ThinkTwiceVoteWeiss.com. And also you can find out about all three of us. We have a forum for participatory democracy. It's on Facebook. It's called Vote 123 to replace Ed Lee. It's a public group. We do have some standards about how we run it. You have to be civil, and you have to be solution-oriented, and you can't attack people.
But they can learn more about your campaigns. I thank you again, all of you, for coming in, and
Thank
hopefully next time we'll have Ed Lee joining us. Thank you.